What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the team at Awesemo, talking some college basketball, DFS. I had a Friday, March the 11th, an 11-game slate. We are a little later in the day because we had a morning slate as well. But before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by Monkey Knife Fight today, and we have a promo for those of you new to the platform. Promo code PLUS, PLUS, is going to get you 2 months free of Awesemo Plus some deposit bonuses. So make sure to check out Monkey Knife Fight. Diving right into this to save some time. We have 11 games up, 11 games down. We are going to get right into this. And we kick things off with Mississippi State taking on Tennessee. Mississippi State got the job done yesterday, but they're now 8-point underdogs to Tennessee in the game with a 130 total. So Mississippi State, they have a horrific team total on the slate. It's really just, do you want to play a contrarian Iverson Molinar, who plays every single minute, has a 20.7 usage rate? Or would you maybe take a shot on a guy like Garrison Brooks or Tolu Smith, two of the big men there? Garrison has had some volatile minutes. Tolu's played over 29 and 3 straight with some phenomenal rates, but going to be a tough matchup against Tennessee. I'm completely off that side of the game. On the Tennessee side, Olivier Kamhua is still out, so you maybe have some value with the Tennessee guys. Santiago Vescovi and Kennedy Chandler playing nearly every minute. Chandler dealt with foul trouble in their last game. They're both expensive for the team total in this game, so I think I'd rather go elsewhere. And now you finally have Josiah Jordan-James priced efficiently. He was previously a value play, so I think I'm just completely off this game entirely. Maybe a Zakai Zeigler, but overall, not the best place to look. Game 2 is Creighton taking on Providence. Another 130 total, really low here, just slow-paced game. Providence likes to slow teams down. Two teams that are good on defense. And Creighton, they've had some offensive efficiency struggles this year. They're 215th in the country. Providence, the 3-point favorite, kind of a lame duck #1 seed in the Big East tournament. Creighton got the job done against Marquette yesterday. They're playing a super condensed rotation because of injuries. Ryan Nembhard, their freshman point guard, still out. Kalkbrenner and Hawkins have taken on enormous usage rates, and both are viable here. I also think there might be some value in buying low on AOC, Alex O'Connell, who's played 34 minutes at least in 3 straight games. Strong usage for him across the board. You just have Hawkins and Kalkbrenner with the good games recently. Trey Alexander is now getting more and more expensive. Rather than pay for Alexander, I would just go up 300 for O'Connell. The cheap guy to maybe look at is Arthur Kaluma. He'll play 25 to 30 minutes, just not the same kind of floor that AOC has, so probably getting there. For Providence, Aljami Durham is still playing through a hernia, so he's kind of a risky play, but he's 5,300 with 30-plus minutes in his last game. Outside of Durham, I think most of the usage is going to fall on Horchler and Watson. Horchler is basically just a rebounder. Watson has a decent shot rate, but ultimately the floor is a little bit lower on these guys compared to some other players in this range. I think you can maybe go to a Justin Minaya, who's a bit cheaper, and the usage rate isn't all that different for him. He'll play 30-plus minutes here, so I think it's Minaya or just going to the tight rotation with Creighton in this game. Again, not the most enticing. Michigan State taking on Wisconsin, a 135 total here, so a little bit better. Wisconsin, the 3-point favorite. On Michigan State, they play a 10-man rotation, which is not ideal. The players that you want to look at here are Max Christie, whose price continues to plummet due to a plummeting usage rate. So maybe if you want to play the wind sprinter on Michigan State, the minutes are consistent, the usage is poor. And maybe Gabe Brown, who's played 30 minutes in 3 straight games. Again, usage rate pretty poor for Gabe Brown overall. Not a good spot for Michigan State. Going to Wisconsin, Johnny Davis coming off the ankle sprain, only played 11 minutes in their last game. He's going to play here, but I think if there's any chance of re-aggravation, he's coming out. Wisconsin, they played their way into maybe a #2 seed at worst, and if they were to win the Big Ten, I think they'd maybe become a 1. But there's no reason to rush Johnny Davis back into action. He says he's good, but just a little bit wary there. Outside of that, you have basically middling usage across the board for the rest of the team. Brad Davison, he's middling in price and usage. Tyler Wall, a little more double-double equity with him. Chucky Hepburn does nothing but assist. It's a pretty risky environment for Wisconsin overall. I usually just play Johnny Davis or move on, and now the injury clouds the situation. Miami taking on Duke. Finally, a game we want to take some pieces of. A 147.5 total. Duke, the 8.5-point favorite, sneaking by Syracuse yesterday, and we can say the same thing about Miami with their win over BC. Miami plays a hyper-condensed rotation between McGusty, Miller, Wong, Moore, and Wardenberg. Between this group, I think you want to go to some of the cheaper options here with a matchup against Duke. Jordan Miller's played phenomenally of late. He's going to have a very tough matchup. This Miami team plays small. They're one of the smaller teams in the conference, and Duke has a ton of size. So they got to hit their threes. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day at the office. But Jordan Miller's cheaper. You can always play guys like McGusty, Wong, Charlie Moore, probably off Wardenberg just for the matchup here. But overall, Miami's not in the best spot, but the team total is still decent here. So I'm interested in some of the cheaper guys in the 6Ks. For Duke, premier bounce back spot for Banchero, who has now played 33 minutes plus in 3 straight. Rates are phenomenal for him. He was just pretty passive in their last game against Syracuse and missed a lot of open shots. So hopefully there's some positive regression here. The team total is so high that Banchero is a strong play. Wendell Moore's coming off a phenomenal game. His rates are strong, but he's mostly a peripheral player. I'd rather play Banchero 1-for-1, but there is a decent price gap between them. Mark Williams played 33 minutes in their last game, and we typically don't see that with Mark Williams. If he plays 33 minutes again, he's essentially a walking double-double. So he's maybe one of the best GPP plays on the slate. His floor is just 20 minutes, though. Like, he's played 21 minutes in one of their most recent games. Their third most recent game, 21 minutes for Mark Williams. That's always a risk with him, but great rates if he's on the floor. Keels and Griffin, they also play a lot of minutes. Keels in particular has been over 34 in 3 straight, 20% shot rate for him. A little bit cheaper if you're just looking for an access point to Duke, but you're playing other studs. Vanderbilt taking on Kentucky, another good total here, 142.5. Kentucky, the 10.5 point favorite. Vandy coming off an upset win themselves. They've now won 2 games straight to get to this point, and they are the healthiest they've been all season. Played most of the year without Liam Robbins. He's not going to play a ton of minutes for this team, but he's a foul risk, I guess is the way you would put it. He played 10 minutes in their last game because he fouled out in that span. If he doesn't foul out, he's going to play a lot more than that. And the same thing with Rodney Chapman, who fouled out in 20 minutes. These are 2 players that have returned from injury and have a much higher ceiling than what they displayed in their last contest. I think they're both decent value plays. Chapman, far better value play here. 4,300, started 20 minutes and fouled out. There's a big ceiling here for Chapman if he can get on the floor for a little bit longer period of time. And with Vanderbilt, we always have to talk about Scottie Pippen. He's going to play nearly every single minute, phenomenal rates. He's a little bit cheaper on this slate because they are such big underdogs, but when they need somebody to just take over the game, it's going to be him. He's somebody to consider for tournaments. Kentucky, the age-old question, do we play Oscar Tshiebwe or do we not play Oscar Tshiebwe? Generally, the answer is we're going to play Oscar Tshiebwe. He's in a great spot again here. Vanderbilt's 213th in rebounding. There's just nobody that can card Oscar Tshiebwe. He's a 52% rebound rate last 3. He's playing every single minute. We're just playing Oscar Tshiebwe. Outside of that, you have Ty coming back. He's very cheap, 6,100. They've limited him except for the third most recent game, 35 minutes in a tough spot. He's now had about a week to rest, so Ty should be getting closer to the full minutes. Same thing with Severe Wheeler. I think both of these guys are very interesting plays at their prices. Not really interested in Kellen Grady or Keon Brooks. Penn State, Purdue, terrible spot for Penn State. We said that yesterday against Ohio State, but they got it done. Purdue, 10.5 point favorites, 134 total. Penn State just not going to play Penn State guys. Harris in a very difficult matchup against Edey and Trevion Williams. Pickett plays every single minute, but again, they're going to need to score more than their 62-point implied team total for Pickett to get there. He's above 20%, 21% in shot rate, rebound rate, and assist rate. So maybe a contrarian play near the top of pricing. Not interested in Lundy or Dredd. Dredd is a wind sprinter. For Purdue, you have Edey and Trevion Williams playing 40 minutes between the two at the 5. That is not going to be great at their respective prices. Trev is 6.6, so maybe on tournament teams you could look at him. Ivy is their usage leader. He's the one playing the most minutes. He's struggled a lot of late. 7,700 is not a great price for him. Value slate overall. Stefanovic just not used enough for the price, in my opinion. TCU Kansas, another potential blowout spot. We got a lot of these because we had so many upsets yesterday. 8.5 point spread in favor of Kansas, 139 total, pretty decent here. TCU in a really tough spot overall. Right now, it's Mike Miles leading the way. Otherwise, you're maybe looking at like a Damian Baugh, but they're all too expensive at their respective prices and implied team totals. Tough matchup against Kansas. I'm just going to stay away from TCU. On Kansas, however, we do have a tight rotation for the most part. We have Ochai Agbaji, Christian Brown, and Jalen Wilson playing nearly every minute. Now with this, Ochai and Christian Braun have seen their prices diverge a little bit. Braun just not taking as many shots. He's still rebounding at an elite rate. And we saw these guys essentially the same price earlier this year. So I think a potential buy low on Braun. But Jalen Wilson's just been so involved, rebounding, shooting. I think there's a chance that he's just maybe ascended a bit and taken away some of the ceiling of Braun. Big Dave McCormick, 10 minutes in their last game, just not going to get it done there. Mitch Lightfoot played 23. Don't love that. Remy Martin, there was word that he might play more. Still just 12 minutes for Remy. He's going to be splitting time directly with DeJuan Harris. I think it's Ochai, Brown, or Wilson. Colorado, Arizona, 10-point spread in favor of Arizona, 149 total. Fantastic spot for DFS. Jabari Walker is going into a much more difficult matchup than we saw yesterday. Still elite rates across the board, 21.3% shot rate, 37% rebound rate. It's a great spot for Jabari. Outside of him, no one else really plays consistent minutes. KJ Simpson's played really well lately. I still don't trust his minutes. He's been at 27, 20, and 29 last 3 games. So I think GPP flyers on KJ Simpson could make some sense with how well he's played. But outside of Jabari, Evan Beatty has the next most consistent minutes. Arizona lost Kerr Kriisa. He's allegedly questionable for this game. He was in a boot yesterday after the game. That does not bode well here against Colorado. I do not think we see a Kerr Kriisa, but again, just not sure. That means more minutes for Pele Larson and Justin Kier, if that is truly the case. Benedict Mathurin also should take on more usage. He has elite rates across the board, and he's priced down at 7,500. We've seen Mathurin yesterday even. He was 8,400, so great spot for him. Outside of that, you have Koloko and Tubelis, both playing middling minutes. Koloko getting 32 yesterday was a bit surprising after he played 15 the game prior, but ultimately we've seen these guys kind of reside in the mid to upper 20s. I think buy low on Tubelis. Koloko played a lot more than his season average. Dalen Terry should be getting 30 minutes now here too with Kerr Kriisa injured. Again, I think you probably get some Pele Larson and Justin Kier as value plays. Arizona, they just haven't had a lot of games without Kerr Kriisa, so it's difficult to decide what they're going to do. The only other player who's really handled the ball is Kier, so I think he would be the guy you prefer in this situation over Pele Larson, a little bit more expensive. UConn Nova, 2.5-point spread in favor of Nova. UConn, they're interesting in this spot with Adama Sanogo dominating rates, 22% shot rate, 33% rebound rate. He's 8,300. Just the implied team total is very low, and we know Villanova is going to slow the pace, but Adama Sanogo still a decent play here. I'd rather play him than Tyrese. I'd rather play him than RJ Cole. Prices are different, so take that into consideration. It's probably Adama or RJ Cole for me. On the Villanova side, Gillespie and Justin Moore are going to play every single minute for this team. I think they're both fine at their respective prices. They both have elite rates overall. And Nova's a team that has been battling some injuries. There's not a ton of injuries spots on this slate, but Nova is one of the few. So with that, Jermaine Samuels was questionable for yesterday's game. He ended up getting in there. He's allegedly questionable again today. So I think we probably see him, but just know that this isn't the lock spot for him. Probably not playing him. Dixon's also questionable. Hasn't played more than 14 minutes in the last 2. That's allowed Brandon Slater and Caleb Daniels to see 30-plus minutes. They're both really cheap. Between the two, it's probably Caleb Daniels. Just the shot rate is much, much higher than Slater's, but risky spot with the potential for Jermaine Samuels and Eric Dixon to play more. So take that for what it's worth. Virginia Tech, UNC, 140 total. UNC has dominated Virginia Tech all season long. They're just a stylistic nightmare for Virginia Tech, who doesn't have any size. They're not good at rebounding. And Armando Bacot's one of the best rebounders in the country. 301 rebounding for Virginia Tech to 14 for UNC. On Virginia Tech, we know who's going to play the minutes. It's Keve Aluma, Justin Mutz, Hunter Couture, Naheem Aline, and Storm Murphy's now played a pretty decent role for this team again after he was in the doghouse towards the end of the year. You're trying to get to Aluma and Mutz if you can. Couture and Aline are just shooters at this point, but very tough matchup on the interior. They're not priorities for me. Armando Bacot has solid enough rates to take a shot on here. He'll play almost every single minute for this team. Phenomenal rebounding rate, 31%. He's much better at rebounding than Brady Manick, who is a bit cheaper. Brady Manick has a higher shot rate at this point. I think both are solid plays overall. And then there's always Caleb Love, primary shooter from the backcourt. He's somebody that is also a play in this spot. Oklahoma, Texas Tech. Oklahoma gets the upset. Now they face Texas Tech, who is a 7.5-point favorite, 125 total. Not much to look at here. I think it's contrarian Jalen Hill Umoja Gibson or Jordan Goldwire. Otherwise, you're just moving on. Team total is not high enough to take a stand on any of these guys for Oklahoma. Texas Tech, we saw the return of Kevin McCullough, and as anticipated, it just completely demolished the rotation. They did win by 31 points, so take that for what it's worth in their last game. But ultimately, I think you see more minutes for McCullough, Shannon, and Adonis Arms moving forward. Everybody else is a risky play here, and the total so low, I probably will not play anyone in this game. Closing out the slate, we have USC, UCLA, 134 total. USC in a decent spot here. They're going to flow through Mobley and Peterson. Both have fantastic rates. Between the two, it's probably Peterson due to price. They actually have a pretty decent matchup against UCLA, who is a team that doesn't have the best size. They're still solid defensively, but there is an advantage towards USC on the interior. However, UCLA, the more experienced team, if this comes down to the wire, UCLA is extremely good at free throw shooting compared to USC. So potential issues here. I think it's just the two studs for USC or move on. For UCLA, everyone's finally healthy. And again, victory for them by 10 points in their last game. When they're pressed, you're going to see Juzang, Campbell, Jules Bernard, and Jaime Jaquez play 34 minutes apiece around there, 32 to 36, I would say. And Juzang is a guy who's coming off the injury, rounding back into form. He's still the cheapest, tied with Jules Bernard in this instance for cheapest on the team. I'm going to play Juzang at this price. The usage rate just too high, nearly 20.5% for him. But that will do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comment section who your favorite plays are. We'll be back again tomorrow with more DFS plays ahead of conference tournament play. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next time.